Okay, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us here at the Network Breakfast. My name is Tom Basie, and we're in Northeast Ohio. Today, we're going to talk about passwords. Ray is going to talk about passwords. But before we do, we're going to let the group here say good morning to you and to each other, and then we'll shift it all on to Ray, and he'll take us into the sunset. So we're going to say good morning to Chris Walters.
Good morning, Chris Walters with See-Through Windows. I provide vinyl replacement windows, patio doors, and glass block. I cover a territory from Port Clinton to the Pennsylvania border, Cleveland to Canton. We also install what we measure. Also, I will sell to contractors on a regular basis just windows if they need them. Call me at 330-604-0403. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for being here. We're going to say good morning to Jeff Hexter, and he'll tell us all about what's happening with him. Good morning, Jeff.
Thank you, Tom. I am Jeff Hexter with Always Keep Computing. And when I'm not traveling outside of the continental US without the power cord for my laptop and unable to use it for very much, I am helping solve the weird and wacky computing problems that professionals working from home have. So people with WIFD Wi-Fi, printers that aren't printing, emails that aren't sending. I love helping those kinds of problems. Jeff Hexter, Always Keep Computing. We pull out our hair so you don't have to.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for being here. And he's so willing to say, I didn't remember to bring it. So you want to trust your computer to him. I'm kidding. He's the best, especially on Wednesday from 9 to 11. Jack's. We've all been there at least once, and it's really it's cool. He sits at the first table, round table. Looks like they're going to play cards. But actually, what happens is he fixes computers. He'll look at your phone. He'll look at your laptops, your iPads. He'll look at drawings and bring your sketches. He'll show him that too. He's got the great sense of style. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for being here. And next, we're going to say good morning to Trina Gigax. We're so happy she's here today. Look how good she looks. All right. Good morning, Trina.
Good morning. You made me blush. My name's Trina Gigax. I've been hanging out with these guys for a couple of years. I guess I'm in the caregiving industry in two capacities. I'm a volunteer at the Gathering Place. I volunteer by running a cancer support group, and I work part-time caregiving to people in their homes with cancer and dementia. My name is Trina Gigax. Welcome to our group.
Thank you. Thank you, Trina. Next, we're happy to welcome Michael Titelbaum, and we're glad to see him this morning, and he'll tell you what's going on with him. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Titelbaum, and I'm an attorney with an office on the east side of Cleveland in Beechwood, Ohio, but serving all of Cuyahoga and surrounding counties for more than 35 years. I primarily serve entrepreneurs and small, closely held or family-run businesses, generally with sales of between $300,000 and $5 million annually. I meet most of their business and personal legal needs, from startup to selling or transitioning ownership of their business enterprise to the next generation on the business side. Excuse me. And tax, excuse me, and tax, financial, estate planning, and probate, Medicaid planning for the elderly or disabled, and residential real estate contracts on the individual side. Pardon me. My clients have praised me for my ability to find creative ways to get things done, even when governmental regulations or other roadblocks seem to get in their way. I like to think that I give clients most experience and efficiency for their hard-earned dollars, and I will work tirelessly to meet your needs and be available to take your call practically 24/7 and whenever you need me the most. If you need legal assistance or advice with anything, I'm the one you should contact first. Michael Titelbaum, 216-470-9333. Give me a call anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for being here. Appreciate the synopsis. Worked out well. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ray Antonelli. Normally he would just say good morning, and he does like one of 10, 12 things, and he's an expert at all of them. But today he's going to talk about passwords. So let me check and make sure he's got his. You have your PowerPoint ready there, Ray?
I do.
Well, whenever you're ready, you take over and fire that up whenever you think it's appropriate. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ray. Here you go.
Thank you, Tom. Again, Ray Antonelli, 2023 is my 25th year of being a licensed loan officer. I have analyzed thousands of credit reports in my career and developed a certain expertise of being able to look at a credit report and telling you in 10 minutes what's going on. So I offer this service to anyone who's listening. If you have a life-changing event like buying a car, buying a house, etc., don't hesitate to get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to review your credit for you at no charge to determine if there is an error or if there are things that need to be addressed, that they be taken care of on a timely basis. It's common for errors to take up to 90 days to be fixed, so I encourage you to start early with this process as well. And anyone can get in touch with me at 216-337-7520. I do not answer my phone 24/7, but I do answer it until 9 p.m. every evening, so don't hesitate to call. Now we'll start the screen share. Okay. Today's presentation will be on passwords. Everybody knows that passwords are basically a pain in the behind. We all have had issues with passwords. And in addition to that, we tend to share passwords amongst the various websites, which is obviously a bad thing to do, because when passwords get shared, that's commonly when we have an issue. So I offer a couple different options, and one way I think that is going to be the best way to take care of it. Let's see if that works. No, it doesn't. Let's see.
Tap the space bar or the right arrow.
I'm doing it and it's not passing. It's not going.
Okay, you got to enable that window.
Enable the window.
Bring your mouse up to the menu bar and tap it.
Enable the window.
Bring your mouse up to the menu bar where it says the name of the slideshow.
It doesn't say the name of the slideshow. It just
Then
has.
bring it all the way up to the white line on the menu bar on top.
Okay.
There you go. Click.
Nope, didn't like it.
No, all that does is enable it.
There you are.
Okay, now it changed. Now it changed. Okay, so passwords are easy to crack. We've all seen lists of weak passwords. Everything from the word password to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are some of the most common passwords that are used, and they're so easy to crack. They don't even need anything special to do. Okay, and virtually everyone has password issues, and we may search Google for good passwords, but they're usually not tough enough. Being forced to create and remember a random string of passwords. I got to get rid of this over here. You know what? Wait a minute, just a second here. The images from of all of you and us are blocking the screen. I'm trying to get the or let me see if I can leave it there. Oh, that goes around the bottom. Okay, that'll work.
We see it, Ray.
Okay, yeah, got it. The problem is they were in the way of me reading the slide. Okay. So being forced to create and remember a random string of letters, numbers, and special characters for dozens of personal and professional accounts can be maddening. It inevitably leads to bad password practices. reusing the same password again and again for different accounts, writing passwords down on sticky notes, for example, stuck to your monitor, or worse, using easy to remember words such as password. And in implementing these bad practices, we could be opening the door for cyber criminals to gain access to our financial data or other personal information. Evergreen passwords can be easily cracked. The Washington Post bought a $15,000 program that could crack almost any password in less than 90 minutes. Now, when they did this, they actually were using passwords from a security organization. And you would think that security pros would use passwords that are a little harder to crack than most, yet they were able to crack 99% of them in less than 90 minutes. So the solution is enter the passphrase. As it turns out, computers can crack passwords, even decent ones, pretty easily. However, it seems those same computers can take forever to crack a passphrase. Passphrases can take years to crack. It's counterintuitive, but the facts are clear. Passwords are hard for a person to remember and easy for a computer to crack, while the exact opposite is true of passphrases. The FBI recommends passphrases over password complexity. I use Bard to make it even easier. I use Bard, the Google AI, to create 20 lists of 4 completely random words. Each list must have 2 words with more than 6 letters each. This is the exact phrase I put in Bard to create the group of passphrases. And here's the one that I use with ChatGPT. Create 20 lists of 4 random words each. And here are samples of those words. Okay, now you see the concept behind passphrases is you want the words to be easy for you to remember, but you also want them easy to spell, and you want the words to be long enough so that it's very hard for a password cracking tool, even a pro one, to determine what's going on. So you see the list banana, candle, ocean, guitar. That one is a pretty good password, and it's easy to remember. And for most people, it's also easy to spell, because in some cases you want to enter a password on the fly, but you so you want to be able to make sure you spell it properly. All right. And here's another set of passwords. Again, I use ChatGPT and Bard to develop all these passphrases, so you don't have to go nuts trying to think of 4 words that are familiar to you. You can just go to ChatGPT or Bard and an AI and ask them to create these lists, and they will do it for you literally in seconds. Okay, this is an example of a good password. Umbrella, mango, telescope, mountain. It has all the elements. The words are unique. The words are unique. They're pretty easy to spell on the fly, and 35 characters makes this a very good passphrase, almost impossible to break. I'm also finding that the mouse ring on my trackball will allow me to change slides too. That's kind of neat. Okay, this is an example of a not so good one. Okay, chocolate, moon, beach, and moonlight. First of all, it uses 2 words with moon in them. Now, I might be picky about this, but obviously, the more unique the words are, the harder it's going to be to guess the password or passphrase. Okay. Second, the 2 monosyllable words would be so much better if they were longer. And again, you can customize this when you ask Bard or ChatGPT to create your list for you. It still has 35 characters, but would be even better if it was longer. It should be pointed out that almost any passphrase, even bad ones, or even ones that look weak, is better than 99% of standard passwords. Okay, here's a way to create a passphrase one time with a high degree of customization. That's the website, correcthorsebatterystaple.net, which is an example of a fairly decent password, although you don't want to use it because that's the name of the website as well. So you put in, or it will actually generate the words for you. And also, by the way, can anybody see my mouse?
Yep.
Okay, so you can see password length right here. Okay, you can control the number of words, and you can control the minimum length. So it gives you all sorts of abilities to generate the password. And then once the password is generated, you click the copy link, and now the password can be pasted anywhere on your computer, including in a Word doc or something like that, if you wanted to save it. Okay, so this is another way to generate a passphrase that is very beneficial. Okay. Okay, conclusions. Passwords are a continuing issue for all of us. We need to get a handle on this issue. Passphrases are easy to implement and hard to break. Biometric security, i.e. fingerprints, face prints, iris prints, etc., may have their place a little later. Also, there are some, I don't know whether some of you have heard about something called the YUBI key, Y-U-B-I key. That's a device that plugs into your USB port and allows you to log into the computer, and that's obviously absolutely impossible to break as well, okay? But it depends on a physical key, and if you lose that key, you're in deep doggy poo, okay? So passphrases are at least better than almost any other way to verify a website or verify you compared to anything else until we find something better. Many thanks to the man of the hour, Tom Basie. His help to prepare these slides have been invaluable. And that is the end of the slideshow, folks. Now let me see if I can stop it. There we go. Any questions?
Well, a lot of them have a, minimum of 8, maximum 20, and you have to have an upper, a lower, and any one of these symbols. So that's why I use a password manager, because I try and make them, I don't know if they're uncrackable, but I include all those things, but I would never be able to remember. You have shopping ones and food ones, and
right.
I think there's 100 that I have. I keep them in Dashlane.
I use a Dashlane as well, and it's generally speaking, it's a pretty good password manager. Here's the situation. In some cases, the way websites and boxes on the websites are formatted, Dashlane doesn't pick it up. Okay, it won't allow you to use a stored password and paste it in or whatever. Okay, so
yeah, I find that on occasion, but mostly as soon as I click on the enter user ID and password, my Dashlane stuff comes up, and I don't have to remember it.
Again, most of the time Dashlane works fine, but not 100% of the time in my experience anyway. Okay, and the idea here is you want to get something that is easy to remember, but hard for a computer to break. And that's what, even the worst passphrase is harder for a computer to break. Even like a bad passphrase would be only 20 or 25 characters, for example. Most of the passphrases I had Bard generate or ChatGPT generate are in excess of 30 characters. And once you get beyond 30, and Jeff and Tom, you may comment about this, I think they're just about unbreakable.
But I would think the problem with that is if you have to remember mango chocolate ice cream,
whatever,
and then some letters to follow it, because you can't keep using the same phrase over and over again. you'd still need a password manager to remember. They may be unbreakable, but don't you think you'd still need a manager to remember all those catchphrases?
You know, I'm not so sure that's the case. Okay. In addition to using Dashlane, I also exported the passwords into an Excel file that's obviously native to my computer. So I can reference a password that is not in Dashlane to cut and paste it onto a website if I have an issue. But unless the program, unless your identity is stolen, for example, we had Experian, the credit reporting agency, lose 500 million accounts, you know, to a hacker a couple years ago, and it's conceivable that your password actually could be stolen at that point. But if this password is so impossible to break, so unlikely that it's going to be cracked, you could probably use it on every website and get away with it and not have to worry about whether you remember it or not, because it's always going to be the same 4 words that are a total of, let's say,
And then you
35
just
characters
change
long.
the ending, adding numbers and symbols.
Right. If websites do require the numbers or special symbols, you simply add those to the beginning, middle, or end, whatever you prefer, of the passphrase, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it would probably be better that you put them in the same place every time you create a password. Every time you start a new password, for example, so that you don't have to worry about which website you visited that requires numbers or special characters, that you're going to have to remember that. Okay.
Right.
So again, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm tempted myself to use a passphrase, the same passphrase, on every website out there, you know, and if it's 35 characters long, I'm betting, unless there's a breach like I mentioned about Experian, that password would be better than anything else out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm interested to hear how other people create. I try and use a word that's associated with, like if it's Heinen's, I didn't do, don't worry about this. I didn't, this is just an example. If you were to use groceries, you know, I would use the $sign as the S. So at least if I can't remember, if I can't get into Dashlane or anything for, I try and remember them that way.
Right.
But I wonder how other people create their passwords.
Obviously, this presentation wasn't anywhere near as exhaustive as it could be, but I'm almost certain that these password cracking programs, one of which I mentioned, and there's tons more, are familiar with all of those conventions. You know, groceries with the $sign in place of the S. You know, that's you know, common for password cracking programs to take into account.
Okay. Well, Tom and Jeff, the computer guys, how do you use a method to come up with your password?
Yeah, the idea of using words instead of a jumble of characters, numbers, and punctuation. Characters, numbers, and punctuation for a supercomputer is child's play. All it does is run through every possible character for the first number, letter, and then it'll just keep doing that, and it can get it done in a hurry. Whereas if it tried to do 4 words, it would be there, like the FBI said, 99 years, because it doesn't know that it's making words. Maybe AI trying to break it might break it, but some years ago, Netgear started using 2 words and a number to get into their, and I adopted that since then. 2 words that are not associated and a number. Now, naturally, if you need to add punctuation, you would do that. Just as Ray said, you would put it before, in the middle, or after. But in any case, you would use it as far as this goes, 2 words and a number. And I'll tell you what, I remember it easily. And whenever I need to, that's what I type in. And inevitably, that's the one I picked. So, and the number has become for me a pin, which I use so that it just follows in line with all of that. So since reading on the bottom of when you get a router or whatever, and you look at the bottom, it'll give you the default
Password.
username and password, or the IP address and password for a native router. If it's a Netgear, it might be that generation. They may well have moved away from that, but the ones that I used when I got my Netgear equipment was probably, I don't know, 5 years ago. My Nighthawk equipment, excuse me. I get all Nighthawk stuff because it just works right out of the box, and to me, it's just the best. It's secure, stable, and easy to configure. 2 words and a number. Now, as you know, most passwords, especially for banks or anywhere that needs that encryption, they're going to make you do a pretty long one. And Google sometimes suggests passwords that look like it's from Little Abner. Remember when they used to fight and ended with all letters that were not associated? Nobody knows Little Abner. Maybe me and Chris.
I do.
Because we're old people. But they would write stuff, like when they would hit each other. And that's the kind of password that they would recommend. And it looks like it would be pretty secure and probably mediocre. It does. But there's nothing like using 4 disassociate words, or in my case, I use 2 words and a number. And if I have to, I add punctuation. And it works very well. And the only way anybody's going to find out is if somebody hacks my bank account and gets that information. Or if somebody hacks my computer and goes into Google. If you go into Google and look into privacy and security, you're going to see all the password lists of all the sites that you've ever been on that you had to type a password for. And then on the right-hand side of that list, you click on it and it makes you type in the Windows entrance password to see what the password is on that particular website or bank or whatever. So all your passwords are in there. And much the same with the keychain on a Mac.
Well, people like my sister who use the same password, and if you make it your dog's names, those are pretty hard to.
Terrible. Dog's name, birthdays, maybe the name of your car, Chevy, and then 0127.
Or your birth date, right?
Yeah, terrible. But anyway, it's a big thing, and people's computers are getting hacked. But there's years ago I learned of a software that the government uses when I was paying more attention to our crime website, biggest crime website in the world, AmericanMafia.com. And we learned that the government was using a software package. Actually, it was a group of software, and it was called Carnivore. And it can do absolutely anything. They don't need to know your passwords. They'll blow the door down with this software. And only the government apparently can have that kind of software. But it was amazing. I don't know if they still use it, but they did at the time, and they broke into all the people back in the early stages of internet, and learned all sorts of things using this group of software package called Carnivore.
What do you do, Jeff?
Yeah, what do you think, Jeff?
Without disclosing your protocol.
Well, let me first do a little number exploration with you. So I posted in the chat an XKCD webcomic, which is about doing what Ray's talking about here, using passphrases. And it's explaining why it's easier to, obviously they're easier to remember and hard for computers to crack. But I've done password cracking. I actually have downloaded lists of password hashes and then tried to convert them into the password by using a cracking program that basically grabs a dictionary of likely passwords and then runs combinations of those words against does the same hashing algorithm against those words and sees if any of them turn into the hashes that were on the list that I downloaded. That would be a crack for that password. So the problem with using a known dictionary like this is you can have a finite number of words. Suppose there are, I did some looking on their other links that I put in the chat. There's a Wiktionary list of 711,000 English words. You could take all of those and run all of them once, then all of them in combinations, and then all of them in triple combinations, then all of them in quad combinations, and run and change the capital of every first letter or put a character between them, and you can run a script that will do all that, and it will take a modern computer, if they're only the letters and no numbers or anything in them, probably take it, I don't know, not that long, like less than an hour to go through every one of those combinations on a modern video card. So but when you start adding in numbers and symbols, it will take longer because there are lots of different combinations they have to try. Because there are only a finite number of words, unless you misspell some of them, that won't be in that dictionary. And the other thing it can do is then start running the same combination using moving the capital letter through the words, every one of them until they're all capitals. And it won't honestly take that much longer to run all those combinations because you're still using English words. In not using random characters in those spots. So while this is a good long password that is relatively hard, it's not impossible to crack these. You can generate simplification rules for your password cracking programs that will, if they know that somebody's using this kind of pattern, not have to try random character after random character. But it's probably good enough.
Jeff, how did the guy from Bitcoin lose his password when he could have used something like this and found it?
If you have, I don't know the answer because I don't know the exact situation, but I mean, it's possible to lose the wallet and you're never going to find. So the wallet could be locked with the password, but the actual encryption key could be damaged, could be gone. And that could be 256 random characters or something like that. You're never going to get that back.
I followed your link on the grc.com website, and even they recommend password length as one of the determining factors for a good password.
Absolutely important. It's the most important factor right now.
Right. So if you get a passphrase that you can remember, and it's a long passphrase character-wise, above 30 characters, let's say, the password cracking program has to know or guess how many characters you have.
You say that we say has to know or guess, but the person trying to crack your password could say, okay, all of my random stuff isn't working. Let's run another trial with using English words in these combinations and seeing. It's a much smaller dictionary, so it can run much faster.
And
you could do it with free software. You don't have to spend $15,000 on software to do this. Or, I could do it on my desktop computer that I'm sitting at here with granted, my video card was one of the more expensive ones.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Again, it would be in a dictionary, perhaps, which would be one of the first things that gets checked.
You got to add numbers and punctuation.
And I can't spell it.
Okay, all this reminds me of a movie that I enjoy when Matthew Broderick was a young person,
Yep,
a movie called War Games.
Right.
right.
Yes.
And the password it was guessing, the machine, as it got each password, it was actually locked in as if that was the right one. But that's not the way this kind of software works. It has to guess what it is, and the only way it knows is if it gets them all. It doesn't get one at a time like it did in War Games. So
Okay.
I guess Carnivore could do it.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. That was then.
I would have to change to get out of Dashlane and do a forward combo that I could remember. And maybe just put the end of it in Excel or something. I'd have to change, 100, I think I have 122 passwords. So,
Yikes.
yeah, well, everywhere you go, every time you shop or everything you do, not all of them say, would you like to log on as a guest? And
Yeah.
a lot of them
I guess
have-
you know what? That would be a reason not to use the same 4 words. Because if you were using, well, I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, you could use.
Like when you
forward-
get an account with Giant Eagle, you don't need a password that cannot be decrypted. You could, I don't know if you would use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but what's the difference? What's somebody gonna log in so they can order for you? There's no real downside to having a password like that on an account like that.
Mhm.
Well,
you could put it in the category. If it's personal shopping, pick 4 words. If it's business, a different 4 words. Computer related or something. You could kind of remember if you had 3 phrases.
And another thing, Giant Eagle probably doesn't use the security that a bank would use. So if you use your same 4 words for everything and Giant Eagle got hacked, then all of your stuff is hacked. And
That's a good point.
and they'll have all your gold certificates all sent to their house.
Oh, what
Unless
are gold certificates?
it's a thing that says you own gold, but you don't have it delivered, the gold actually delivered.
Oh, you meant literally. Okay. I thought that
I'll
was.
be right back. I gotta move my car.
Okay, do you have a password for that?
To start the car, he's got a password.
No, he's got a thing he's got to blow in, you know what I mean? Otherwise the car won't start. Bada boom.
Something else I want to mention. I was at Solon Home Days and I asked a police officer, I said, the cars generally have much more better security than they had 10 years ago. I said, has the incidence of car theft gone down at all because of that? And he said, nope. And he says, half the reason that car thefts are where they still are today is because people leave their key fobs in the car, in the cup holder. What?
Yeah. Well,
Unbelievable.
Solon, this is off subject, but Solon has had a huge increase in car thefts.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's profitable.
I don't know why. Well, in robbery in general, like house theft also, but cars, yes. They talk about it on the neighborhood chat social medias.
Maybe was it while I was in Hawaii?
Maybe.
Nobody, I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. You can't prove anything.
I can't believe people leave their key fob in their car. It just blows my mind.
Is that because you don't have to put your key in the ignition anymore? You use
Right,
a button?
right. You just carry the key fob with you. It
Yeah,
can be
but
in your pocket and the
you
car will
carry
start.
the igniter in your pocket.
Yeah,
You sit in the car or you get close to the car will open. You get in the car and the push button will work because the proximity is there.
right.
But you leave it in the car, oh my goodness. Well then, not only would you leave it in the car, but you'd have to leave the door unlocked.
It won't let you lock it if the fob's in the car.
Right.
That 12 times. But boom. It won't let you lock it. If the fob's in the car,
The vessel with the pestle has the brew that is true. What?
Wow,
I don't remember.
we're so entertaining here at the network breakfast.
It's the coffee talking.
Oh. Okay.
So, what have we learned?
This is
Passphrases?
probably a
I've
good
been using
Change my
passphrases
passwords.
instead of the 12, 15 letters, numbers, characters that are always offered up when you
Before you click
account with
on
somebody.
choose my own.
Yeah, they always show you one. Here, use this.
Mhm.
I should have
Nice
looked up
picture of Ray.
what has been hacked recently. What banks, what like Home Depot,
I have a site-
Costco.
Why is Ray walking into a flag?
Well, he doesn't really have a green background, so
I
he's
know,
walking around.
it just looked like he walked into the flag and disappeared.
Sure.
There's a
Okay,
website,
Chris
Hack
disappeared.
Notice.
We're losing people.
Yeah. Well, Mike is still here. We're glad about that.
Well, maybe we should end. The people on the internet don't want to listen to us jibber jabber forever.
They may be entertained by this. We got a waving flag with an empty chair, and we have a wonderful beach scene with an empty chair. There's a
Very
pattern here.
soothing.
These are two sites that I use to see about recent hacks.
What are they? For people who can't see the chat, what are they?
Oh, hacknotice.com and Have I Been Pwned. I'm putting them in the chat anyway. You can actually search, you can put your email address over at Have I Been
Have
Pwned?
I been pwned?
PWNED. It's hackers speak for owned, as in they own you, they've taken advantage of you, they control you.
Pwned. PWNED. Okay.
And what that site will do is you give it your email address, it'll say if your email has shown up in a recent hack and when. So if your email was in a database that was at some group that got hacked, it'll tell you if your email was in that. And
That's Have I Been Pwned does that?
yes, and it's free.
All right, I'll try that.
But I get emails when my email addresses show up in hacks, which is why it's so important to use a unique password every site. That way they have a password, but not your passwords.
Well, I should stop using my dog's names with the variation of. Well, I don't use the whole name. I use it, but that's why it's hard for me to remember. Sometimes instead of Bentley and Trixie, it's Ben Trix, and then I put other things with it.
You just put them on the underside of your keyboard.
Yeah. That's where you keep your password? I would think so, Mr. Computer.
My favorite ones are when they've got it on Post-it notes on the screen.
That's some of my family, I hate to say.
If you're going to write a password down, don't put it out in the open.
Well, I don't even think keeping it in a Word document or Excel is protected because those are on your computer, right?
In theory, yes. First of all, if somebody has physical access to your computer, unless your data is encrypted, your passwords don't matter.
Right.
I can get data off of any computer if I can touch the computer.
Okay.
Unless the drive is encrypted.
Now that's
I can literally
scary.
take the drive out, plug it into another machine, and read the files. If the drive is encrypted, that's not something I'm going to be able to do. Although there are some people who have the technologies to do that, that's challenging. I have not tried that. Other than erasing the machine and resetting it, there's not much I know to do.
The problem
if you have an unencrypted computer, I could pull a drive out usually, except for the Macs. Some of the newer Macs, no.
I'm wondering why, I don't know if this is just crime television or real life, they get a hold of someone's phone They don't have the password to get into the phone so that they can track maybe where the person is. But why isn't there and Apple will never give up that to the police, remember, because they say if they compromise that and give it up, then they're done. They have to be known for security. So, but aren't there password phone hacking programs to get that, to help them when they need to get into someone's phone? It seems like the computer is so much more difficult.
There's all
kinds of programs for the computer, but not for the phone.
They exist for the phone, but you and I can't get them. Their governments can purchase these things for Android phones, and oftentimes there are hacks for the Apple phones that work on some of the older stuff that we don't know what'll happen on a modern one, but there are nation states have access to technologies that can unlock at least an older Apple phone. I don't know about the current or the next version of it. And they'll often find some sort of flaw in the code that they'll exploit to unlock it. But it could be time consuming.
Yeah, and I'm proud of Apple for not giving us that information. But I do think sometimes, if it's a serial killer and they're trying to figure out if he goes somewhere next or something, and there's information on the phone, it would be helpful to them to be able to get that.
This is a philosophical problem and a political problem, but the technological solution, any technological solution that allows the government to access your data will allow the bad guys to access your data. There isn't a known way that doesn't work that way. And that is the problem.
So you're saying the government's not the bad guy?
I wasn't saying the government's not the bad guy.
That's what you said.
I'm saying any solution that allows the government also allows the bad guy. I didn't say they weren't.
Yes.
Okay, let's wrap it up for this Tuesday. Now that Ray's back, so we can peacefully and patriotically back out of here.
Well, wait, but Michael's putting something in the microwave for breakfast.
Well, this will give him a chance to eat it without being on air. So anyway, thanks so much for joining us here at the Network Breakfast. It was Chris Walters, Jeff Hexter, Ray Antonelli presented, and Michael Teitelbaum, and Trina Gigax, and me, Tom Basie, here in Northeast Ohio. Thanks ever so much for watching all this stuff, and hopefully you learned something. Maybe you can watch it again. Look for it online quickly. I know how Ray likes to check and see where his stuff is. So we're going to be putting this up probably later tonight or tomorrow, whenever I can fit it in. Okay, thanks so much. Enjoy your week. We'll see you next Tuesday morning. Thank you. Bye.